And now the leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution strongly condemned the execution of prominent Shia cleric Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr by Saudi Arabia. Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei described the killing of Sheikh Nimr as a political mistake and stressed that divine revenge will soon befall the Saudi regime's politicians for their crime. Ayatollah Khamenei also noted that Sheikh Nimr neither encouraged an armed struggle nor secretly plotted against the kingdom. Rather, he only made outspoken criticism. The leader further slammed the so-called advocates of freedom, democracy, and human rights for keeping silent about Nimr's execution. He also called on the Muslim world and the whole world to feel a sense of responsibility toward this issue. Now we're joined out of Brisbane for more on the story by Mr. Max Igan, radio host and political commentator. And now, Mr. Igan, leader of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, he's blasted both the Saudi authority for Sheikh Nimr's execution and the silence of those who purport to be champions of human rights. Your views and what you believe, who you believe the Iranian leader is referring to making those statements?
Well, I think he's referring to the West and the United Nations and all the people who are out bombing the Arab world, claiming they're doing it in the name of human rights. And really, we've got to look at the Saudi regime. They're claiming that Iran is destabilising the region and it should butt out of Saudi affairs and accusing it of interfering with human rights. And yet we have Saudi Arabia here executing 46 people and a sheikh. And really, you look at the Saudi regime, this is a puppet regime that was put in place by the West a few decades ago to replace the actual regime that should be ruling in Saudi Arabia, and it's done nothing but support Western interests ever since. It's destabilised the entire region, and this seems to be an attempt to further divide the Muslim world. If you really look at this, I mean, what is the purpose of executing this sheikh? There was no reason for this. As you say, he was a non-violent person. He was simply criticising the Saudi regime, and anybody with an ounce of humanity would criticise the Saudi regime. And this seems to be an attempt to further divide the Muslim world and to drive a wedge into the Muslim world and to portray the Muslim world as being terrorists and extremists when nothing could be further from the truth. This really does seem like a very, very well thought out political move.
And sir, what kind of repercussions and geopolitical tensions throughout the Mideast do you expect us to see from Riyadh's decision to execute Sheikh Nimr?
Well, you're going to see a further divide in the Muslim world, of course you are, and you're going to see the West further portraying countries like Iran as being extremist when it's all backwards. It's always portrayed as being backwards. You know, everything they say is backwards. We're going to see further divides in the Muslim world from this, but it should be something that would unite the Muslim world. The Muslims have to look at this and say, well, look, this is an abomination. This is against all that it means to be supporting Islam, and this is not acceptable. And there needs to be some sort of unity from the Muslim world. We've got to stop supporting Western imperialist interests, which is what the Saudi regime is doing. And again, it's important for people to understand where the current ruling regime, excuse me, in Saudi Arabia came from. This was placed into power way back when there was the war happening with Israel and the Arabs. I mean, this goes way back to the 60s or 70s. But this is a regime that has been put in place to serve Western interests. And that's what I think this is all about.
Thank you for your input, sir. That was Mr. Max Igan joining the program out of Brisbane, radio host and political commentator. Thank you for your contribution.